aspirations of selling for close to $1 billion.
All you got to do is you got to stay high.
What's up? Yeah.
Welcome back, everybody, to another act of Stay Hot. This is Act 37. We got a little new setup today, Troy.
It's beautiful.
The boys are, making a little, feel a little more like ourselves at home. It looks like we know what we're doing now.
It's pretty beautiful. It's like we still don't know what we're doing half the time.
We don't know what we're doing, but we're building the plane while we're flying.
It's like that saying in sports when look good, feel good, play good. We definitely look good, and I feel pretty good right now. And hopefully everyone out there says that we.
You know what it kind of helps to do is it just feels like there's a little more responsibility, accountability. Get here earlier, set up the set, sit down, get the brief ready. It's like
not being in Florida.
It's like, I'm back. Not being in Florida. It helps to be here. It's a lot better to be in person. The energy's palpable. But we have a jam-packed episode today. We have a fire guest interview coming later.
Ooh.
Side note, we recorded it a day ago, but that's okay because Troy got a haircut. He looks a little bit better now, and we'll give you a little insight. But before we get there, let's listen to today's sponsor, GC.
No,
just
Greencube.
Explain that.
Yeah. So quickly, we the whole thing.
Yeah.
So we decided really quick. I think we always said there's an evolution in business. In every business, it's not pivots. I always say it's an evolution. It's a discovery process. It's not a creation process because you got to go to market and figure out what people want.
Yes.
Number one thing that we figured out, and very painfully, we learned this, not recently, but just throughout this whole 1.5-year process of starting Greencube, salespeople want to control their own destiny.
Okay. So quickly. What did you do? Because I'm here saying welcome to GCX, but today you were like, no more GCX.
It's no more GCX, so it's just Greencube, the first AI prospecting platform. It's just a platform that we're giving to salespeople and the tool for them to use. There's no back-end infrastructure. There's no client onboarding. There's no GC outreach and GCX, all within one platform.
Nice.
It's a pure SaaS AI prospecting platform for the next generation of salespeople. And please go check it out. It's pretty remarkable what we're building. Lead delivery over lead search, hashtag LD over LS.
Link below.
Click it.
Yeah, go check it out.
And you'll get a free trial. Also, contact our sales team. We've got some sick discounted prices for volume and length of contracts and terms. We want to basically give the salesperson the metal bat to be able to hit home. Stop using that Louisville slugger that's only been around for 40 years. It's been sitting in your garage. Come out here. Use the nice titanium, beautiful bat that is called Greencube, the AI prospecting platform, baby. Get it!
Right. Clip that. Someone clip that. That was good. Okay, and that makes a lot of sense. But not to get it twisted.
Right.
You're still delivering 40 hyper-personalized leads.
No,
God damn, update you, baby. Update me.
You've been in Florida. We made a lot of progress.
My bad.
So again, we ran a lot of sensitivities. You look at the lead count. You look at everything. These leads are valuable, right? But the way we've actually created the platform, and again, you create a product to try to mimic and but also direct the user intuitively from a behavioral standpoint how to use the product. So for example, the top form of our product, if you go on there, if you look at this link right here, it's the lead search product. And if you look at the lead search, you can go and create all your customized searches right in the field right here.
Right.
And what you're able to do with that is you can click, it's a search that is constantly there for you. So on traditional platforms, you can get stuff delivered back or, hey, you have an upgraded search. Well, it's an upgraded search of thousands of people that ultimately you still got to go dig into.
That's right. It's time consuming.
It sucks.
Let's
call a spade a spade. It sucks. We are better than a lot of other lead search platforms that are out there just because of the usability and the user interface of this platform.
And the technology that supports it.
Well, that's the second part. So you gotta have a better user experience than ultimately what's out there. And Greencube, the first AI prospecting platform.
Here we go.
I'm learning.
Yeah.
Is constantly is a better user experience than anything that's out there I've come across today. It just is. Now, you got to have obviously the technology and the
course.
value to be able to back up the platform,
That's
right? And honestly, it's at a price point now that you can come and contact me, Troy Crema. Go to our website, click through, look at that one now.
Natural salespeople.
Figure out what that
natural
price.
salespeople.
Figure out what that price point is.
Yeah.
But ultimately now. The pricing and the value we create, it's we've turned the product now just because the technology's there. It's a no-brainer.
Sure.
It really is. Price point wise, person goes, cool. All right, whatever. That just in time saving
Right.
user experience.
That's right.
Now. Well, hey, what if we powered in some AI powered leads that are personalized to you, that are most likely to respond, that are open to receiving communication, that ultimately might buy that or we've scored it on your sales cycle. Then hey, we also ran the digital profile score of the person on your link to deduce whether they'd be likely to respond and ultimately digitally available. So
Sure.
and you get unlimited of those. Create as many searches you want, Tristan. Go in there, bet on yourself. That's what we're telling the salesperson. You know what? Greencube is a platform that you will never use another traditional lead search platform ever again. When you try out our product,
Right.
Facts. And ultimately, it is the future of prospecting because the future of prospecting, I don't know if you're seeing what's happening with cybersecurity and with Google and with ultimately all in Microsoft Outlook with emails. So these guys announced lately massive domain punishments.
Okay.
And what I mean, and we went through
what do
this
you mean
too.
by that?
Circuit Clark. Shout out to Clark for letting discovery process on this. So what happens is spray and pray models from a sales outreach perspective. So again, marketing funnels that you can say, hey, this is a marketing funnel and do email drip campaigns. Different than sales outreach. That's a big thing that a lot of even like VPs of sales don't get.
Right.
They think marketing sales funnels are your sales people's doing outreach. So when they say it's volume, right? It's big volume,
Yes.
go wide, drip, 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 click, 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 inbound, go, past SDR. Well, no, sales outreach is totally different. It's for the rep. They have to go create that initial audience, prospect, and outreach. It is not a spray and pray type of process.
That's right.
It is a personalized outreach process, right? And so what Greencube has created, we don't know if we meant to create this, but we did.
Sure.
You're able to do personalized outreach at scale. And what I mean by personalized at scale is I know I get a lead that is delivered to me within the GCX platform. I know all the different commonalities I can pick out within that platform. I can leverage that to go create a super amazing personalized message that goes in my pitch, that then goes into my purchase, right? It is unbelievable.
It's just it's putting the person that you're most likely to have a connection with.
So can I give a quick example of
First?
a lead?
Yeah.
So we're out and raising some cash right now. We're going to like a big VC, and I put a partner at VCs that are interested in, get this, sales enablement, lead generation, sales prospecting.
Right. Specifically, you search on Greencube's platform, on Greencube's platform, the specific type of person that you want to connect with.
And then, hey, I wanted a guy to go to Dartmouth, and I also wanted a guy that ultimately was athletic and had some sort of athletic background. It was artsy. You know what came back? Partner, Dartmouth, worked as an SDR in the 90s, cold calling, qualifying leads. Interested in lead gen, sales processing, sales management at like a top 3 term VC.
Sure.
So I sent this guy a super personalized outreach message. I'll even copy it here if you want to see it here below. Going really into his whole history, everything I got on that Greencube platform. Then going into it, then he actually screenshotted his scoring system on the GCS platform.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, I didn't find you, Greencube did, and ultimately, you know, I could. Here's a tool that you could use back in the 90s when you worked at this company. Now, wait, the guy was on vacation.
Okay.
He was on vacation. He was cross-country skiing in like the middle of nowhere.
Okay.
I got hit with an OOO, an out of the office remark on email.
Yeah.
Right away, I went, shoot. And you know me, I was up like 5 a.m. on Saturday, just couldn't sleep.
That's
and I was sending messages. Guy responds back literally an hour and a half later at 6:30 when he's on vacation at a cross-country ski race with low in the middle of nowhere. Morgan, I'll follow up with you on Monday. I'll make sure I follow up. Guy double emails me back. He says, whoa, so what is the real perk of this process? Is it like personalized outreach and that you can be able to pull all this information and write it and do this type of outreach? I said, yeah, you can do it at scale. I'll talk to you on Monday.
And well, that's a beautiful example, a use case.
Yep.
But I'm assuming that he saw that you also went to Dartmouth, and it was just like you found such commonalities between you and the prospect that he was more likely to respond because of that.
Sure. And what does Greencube do? We have a Greencube DNA that has so many different.
It matches. It's almost like dating. It's almost like online dating, but for salespeople.
Yeah,
and prospects.
And there's so many different other variables. Like, hey, you guys worked at you sell something that you guys worked at a similar company or past company that maybe you want to relate to, or hey, you guys are both in the same industry, or hey, you know what? And you gotta leverage any type of commonality because it's just pure psychology.
Okay.
It's pure psychology. It's backed by MIT papers. People get along with people that they are alike.
1,000%.
And you and me get along for some reason because
Correct.
I don't know why, but ultimately we do. We get along because we're former athletes.
That's right.
We have a passion for ultimately video content creation,
social
informing
media,
audiences, solving
creating
problems.
connection, people, conversation,
Right.
dialogue, questions,
And
curiosity.
we're both like remotely good looking. I think you're a pretty good looking guy, but I mean, like, I don't know.
Okay. Anyways. Before we move on, what would have been the traditional way to hunt down that specific person?
Well, that's the funny thing, right? Is there's also a human error component to this if you were going to hunt them down. So there would have been a human error component where I might have never found that lead. I would
Right.
How I might never been able to dig in.
I guess you could have, but this did it like that.
So usually, the person that we have on the call today,
Yes.
he has a profound prospecting process through his pyramid, his value creation pyramid, right? So he does a ton of research to create that value pyramid and then go outreach to a person.
That's right.
Takes him how long do you say? It was like what? Well, he'll say on the call, but it's remarkable.
Yeah.
Like, it's a day. It takes a work day to create that research, or
Correct.
five. Let's call it 3 hours. I think it's 3 hours, right? So if you're an AE or BDR and SDR, your time is worth a lot.
Right.
Every day your time's worth, right? So if you're doing personalized outreach, it takes research. You got to craft that message. You got to go out and do it. Why is Greencube powerful? Because we've scored the lead based on most likely to respond. So they're leads that ultimately aren't dormant. You should invest in personalized outreach for that lead. And just to get ultimately a 3-hour process, which might have been, if you look at it, even at just, let's call it $33 per hour, what maybe a traditional SDR is making, or an AE's even making somewhere between $50 to $100, maybe sometimes an hour. It's $100 that you're saving on one lead.
Correct.
Ultimately, you can go write a personalized message. It took me 10 minutes. And all you're trying to do is just break that ice, right? And so what took me 10 minutes would usually take someone 3 hours, and there is a delta that ultimately the human might never actually find that lead. Greencube delivers you the best leads possible that are personalized to you. Go check out Greencube the first day.
Okay. No, and what I like that you're doing here is that you're offering people an opportunity to try the product out before making a decision whether or not they want to continue.
Yep.
You're giving out a free trial, and it's almost like we could sit here as much as we want and speak about how great this product is and but people won't believe us until they actually feel it, and it starts to drive results for them.
1,000%.
So everyone, go check that out. Go try it. Send him a message. He'll get you situated. He'll run you through a demo, and then he'll get you set up. And just try it. There's no harm in trying it. Before we get to Will, I came across some interesting stats that I want to get your.
Oh, let's go.
I want to get your opinion on. We're going to do a little fast fire. Here, I'll read the stat. Troy, give me your 1 to 2 sentences on whether you agree with it, what that makes you think, how it's affecting the space that you're operating in, blah, 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 blah.
Remember when we used to do rapid fires? We should do that. Let's do rapid fire.
Let's do it. Okay, so someone start a timer. Go.
You gotta tell it.
I got it. Sorry, I was drinking water. Okay, so this is B2B sales specifically. In a typical firm with 100 to 500 employees, an average of 7 people are involved in most buying decisions. From your experience with people buying your product, is that true?
100%, because just in our scenarios, you're looking at probably like a B Series C or D funded company that ultimately have to sell to the VP of sales. At that level, they got a director of sales. They might have regional directors of sales or regional vice presidents of sales. And usually their teams are about 5 to 7 deep on those regional teams at that stage. When you start going even higher to enterprise, you might even get teams of 200 salespeople within a certain region. So 1,000% checks out.
Wow. 76% of B2B sales reps say that sales technology is critical to closing deals. What What are they referring to when they say sales technology?
Again, sales technologies, Outreach, Gong, Sales Loft, Greencube, Zoom Info, all the different other sales enablement tools that allow a salesperson to ultimately go out and prospect, or ultimately allow them to get buyer intent data through other different types of strategies that they use on a daily basis. So 1000% checks out, and that number should, I think, be a lot higher than what it currently is.
That's
but
right.
There's a lot of different type of traditional industries, like for example cold call, like or FX, which uses cold calling predominantly, or even traditional businesses that aren't digitally available on LinkedIn yet. For example, we have one potential client or prospect that's going after scrapyards, for example. Scrapyards don't have LinkedIn presences, so they still have traditional cold calling business. So you have businesses that are antiquated in the 90s still, but again, that number should be a lot higher and will continue to skew, and that'll be 100% very soon.
Very nice. 9 out of 10 B2B buyers say online content has a moderate to major effect on purchasing decision.
No doubt. That's just a shift from inbound. They created the evolution of inbound over the last basically 10 years, right? So everyone leverages social media to ultimately look at content, be intrigued by content, paid ads to click to their website, or watch crazy, amazing videos like Stay Hot to really get to know the people behind it, stories.
That's right.
And so video content's essential, but also video content's essential from a demoing perspective or a webinar perspective. And so that makes sense.
And quickly, I want to say that whenever I am looking to purchase something,
Right.
whether it be these microphones or a camera or whatever, a U-Haul, I'm moving into a condo, I always go on Instagram first.
Right.
And I search for that company because I want to know who's behind it, what kind of content they're putting out, what is their mood, behavior, what do they represent. You can find so much. I would argue that having a social media presence today is just as, if not more important than having a traditional website. A lot of people, you can do a lot more on websites by, capturing data and that kind of stuff. But I think my generation, your generation, whatever, social media first. We got to go see if they have a profile.
Well, people connect with people first, right?
That's right.
Like, I think that's what social media is. You connect with people first. You don't connect with the website.
Yes, very well done.
Storytelling.
It's just your storytelling. So I want to see what kind of content people, whatever. Yeah, sorry. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, rapid fire. Go. 67% of the buyer's journey is now done digitally.
Yep, 1000%. That makes sense. PLG strategies, the evolution of sales enablement tools, that 100%.
Quickly explain the buyer's journey.
Buyer's journey. So the buyer's journey can be anything, right? It can be click the website, book demo on website, ultimately jump on a Zoom call. Like, that's a digital relationship.
Sure.
Demo then ultimately goes to qualification. Demo then goes to close, then goes to not even sending paper documents anymore, right? We got Panda Doc, we got DocuSign, we got all these documents that are already forwarded. We got credit cards being paid online. That's a digital experience, baby. There's no paperwork involved in that. So again, how big was that?
67%.
Yeah, no, that should be even higher.
It's almost like it's
These are low. This seems low.
67% of the buyer, and that's interesting because you're in it every day, so you're experiencing it for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, 84% of CEOs and VPs use social media to make purchasing decisions.
Yeah, 100%. That's where everyone gets in touch with everyone, and I think just on since we've been around, the amount of people that said, "Hey, I saw your content," or "Hey,
right.
love what you guys are doing," "Hey, love what you guys are approaching," or "Hey, Troy, you're crazy." We've ultimately people get their decision to make their inferences based on storytelling, relationships, and people at the end of the day, and they want to be a part of that.
Because you know what it does? It allows a person to get to know the vibe or energy or personality of someone without having to be face to face with them.
Yeah, like I had a kid reach out to me the other day, just quickly. He goes, "You're like a whole beast at the sales thing, aren't you?" And
Come on, Troy. Okay.
Sorry, go.
62% of B2B buyers say a web search was one of the first 3 resources they used to learn about a solution.
Yeah, I mean that's
1,000%.
That makes SEO optimization. I mean, that's again though, like I think anyone to Google something.
It's the word. It's the world we live in.
But I would also say, come back to that. I think SEO is dropping based on the competitive landscape, but that could be trending downward.
80% of business decision makers prefer to get company information from a series of articles versus an advertisement.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. I mean, people like looking at content and reading about white papers versus them actually looking at a paid ad that's getting put on.
Correct.
It's an Instagram
It's just
story.
being pushed like buy us.
Whenever I see that promoted button, I don't know if you see like this. Nope.
1,000%.
I don't like it.
YouTube, YouTube, they put I'm waiting for the first 5 seconds.
But what I will do, if someone has a story comes up, and shout out to Dan Martell, hopefully we'll get you on the show soon. It was part of Hyperactive Ventures. I think that's it. I'm not sure. It might be Hyperspeed Ventures. What they do in a really cool way through the SaaS Academy is ultimately they put PDFs on stuff that are through Instagram stories to download. And so they have a whole journey to capture information for that. And it's like good stuff. It's like how to write a pure LinkedIn message and how to ultimately go a LinkedIn prospecting process. And if you're a salesperson in B2B, you need to know how to do that. So I'm downloading that all day.
Let's go. Shout
out Dan.
Yeah, shout out Dan. We got to get him on the show.
Yeah.
Okay, and two more. 84% of B2B decision makers begin their buying process with a referral.
That's more, I thought it actually would not be that high, but that's just a testament of how your product needs to be at a point where people love it and use it, and how at the point you need to be able referrals are king, right? Like
it is.
Just another stat that you don't know, like more deals are 75% more likely to close, facts, than ultimately any other deal if it's a referral. That's like inbound, that's versus outbound, that's outreach in general. 75%. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, because people trust their friends or family or colleagues that are referring something. It's no different than me recommending a Netflix show to you and saying, hey, you got to go watch that. You're most likely to watch that.
So one of the toughest things about being a startup when you originally start, right, is you got no referrals.
That's right.
You got no one that can talk about your product, and then they always, the first person you're going to sell, someone you're going to sell, and that's why the first sale is like always considered to be the hardest, is because no one's using it yet. And I swear to God, when I was first starting in sales, the second or third question I always got, wow, Troy, okay, this is really cool. Probably knew I was full of shit, but they said, who exactly, who's using it? Can you put me in touch with any referrals, or can you put me in touch with any testimonials, right? And I was like, what the fuck is a testimonial? But it's funny, right?
How did you do that? How did you close that sale?
Oh, I'd get my friend to act as a fake company.
Fake it till you make it.
Well, that's not something that you should do, but I think when you're starting out, you got to whip out every single stop. We don't do that today with great clients on testimony, but that's the first client. I had my buddy who works at a company, this guy's going to call you. He's going to tell you straight up, he's going to ask you these types of questions. Here's how you're going to answer them. That's right. And ultimately, we're going to go, then ultimately he's like, okay, cool, yeah. And then the guy would call me back, wow, that guy, he loves your product. Wow.
I think that sounds unethical, but I would argue it's only unethical if you ended up selling him the product and it didn't work the way that you promised it would.
It didn't.
Try.
No. But the thing is, this goes back to discovery. Listen, people on the other side are smart enough to know whether what I'm saying is true or not, or whether I'm saying is capable or not. But we never signed. It wasn't like we locked this guy in. We locked him in for a 2-year contract.
Right.
He said, "Okay, I'll give you a 3-month shot. I'll pay for it. Whatever. Let's see what you can do."
Mm-hmm. Right? And that probably gave you so much feedback and data.
And then we got one more. And we got a second.
That's right.
And then we got a fourth. And then maybe you pivot.
And I'm trying not to stay on this, but this is money.
Yeah.
That goes back to the fact that even if you're not ready, your product's not ready, your service is not ready, your startup's ready, you have to go, because that feedback is going to propel you forward.
I mean, just think about where we are today, right? Why we always said we were a SaaS company. We were. Right. We thought GCX was that. Well, then we realized, we have a great product, GC Outreach. Why can't we put messaging, cadencing, analytics all in one platform? People can upsell, add their team, see analytics. Dude, this is next level stuff. But we would never have gone there if I never asked for that guy to ultimately get a referral and my buddy to act it and put his acting hat on.
That's a beautiful story. Somebody clipped that. Somebody clipped that. Me, Tristan, you clipped that. Okay, last one. Average lead to close length is 102 days, and that's according to Salesforce.
That's so broad though, right? Average lead to close length, how do you define a lead? Is that is a lead an engaged lead? Is a lead it's a cold lead when I download it?
Okay, can you think of all the different types of leads and briefly explain those?
So there's MQLs, marketing qualified leads. That one's when someone fills out a form on your website. There's SQLs, which are sales qualified leads, and sales qualified leads are ultimately when Clark, Anthony jump on a qualification call like we were talking about through the process
Okay.
and answer the questions. When it's an SQL, depending on your ACV, your annual contract value, if it's let's say $25,000, an SQL sometimes is worth upwards of $500 to $750, right? If you look at that, because like at that point, like it's qualified, the guy is a buyer, you should be able to close that deal if you're just a modern salesperson. Then you factor in that 3 of every 10 qualified SQLs that you ultimately demos with should ultimately lead to closes. So when you look at that, I would say that would probably be a marketing qualified lead, because that's about a 3-month sales cycle. And for it to get in there, and then ultimately, usually what happens is it gets passed to an SDR. So when a lead goes into the Salesforce or your HubSpot, it'll get kicked to your SDR. They got to jump on and qualify. So they take that MQL to an SQL, and that could be a week or 2-week process. So now you're already like 14 days in.
Right.
Your person might not be ready for a demo. Either you book it the week after or book it the demo. So that's another month. You're in 30 days in. Then you demo. Then ultimately he's got to whip in all of his stakeholders as well. His 5, his 7 people that ultimately wants in. You got to probably do maybe 2 or 3 more follow-up calls to then go to negotiations.
Yeah.
And negotiations, guys, sometimes you're always looking to plan. If it's an ACV contract at $25K, you're probably look plus to even $100K. You're looking at probably a 1 month to 3 weeks, 3 weeks to 4 weeks of just negotiations on the contract, and then also it being in legals. And so enterprise, though, that's why that's skewed, because enterprise is a whole different game. You're going through a year sales cycle or 2-year sales cycle sometimes, right? So that's really interesting, but I would assume that's for 25K ACV clients all the way to ACV to 100K ACV, and that's an MQL that got put in through basically your website, sent to your Salesforce, so that's prime, kicked to your base, so then you get your SDRs to take it over and qualify it, which then works down the pipeline. Yeah, you're looking at about 102-day, 3 months in a bit sales cycle. Bang, chip.
Yo, and it's funny because I think if I were to listen to that 2 weeks ago, 3-4 weeks ago, I'd be like, what is he talking about? But that made complete sense to
You
me.
get it now.
I hope the people listening also get it, because I would agree. I think that's when someone goes on someone's website or fills out a form, boom, that's when it starts.
MQL.
Got it. Well, okay. How long did that take us? It took us probably like
Good, that was awesome.
longer than we wanted, but that was fire. So I hope you guys enjoyed that.
Thank you.
Before we have. Do you want to bring in Billy?
We can get. I want to discuss one thing. Remember the thing that I'm looking at, the outreach message.
That's right. Okay, so Troy messaged me probably a couple nights ago, late at night. Might have been 3 a.m. in the morning when he was just waking up, because he does that.
I'm psycho.
And he was like, "Hey, I want to talk about this. A lot of salespeople bring this up all the time, or it's a mistake that a lot of salespeople make."
It's just what I see in outreach messages to me, and then what I just seen across the board, and why personalized outreach. There's also like we're also putting in places like messaging labs and be able to coach and help salespeople how to write a message, right? Because it's tough. You're basically like you're a copywriter, but like from a sales perspective, and you got to be conversational and intelligent.
Sure.
So like sales is hard.
Sales is hard.
And the BDR and SDR who are doing this, who are the 23 young Gen Z millennial coming out of school who's never written a copy or a message before, they don't know how to write outreach messages. So this thing I discovered really quickly, I call them cliffhangers. And so what cliffhangers are, it's part of the personalization part of an outreach message. And so
the 3 Ps.
So my 3 Ps, right? Yeah, part of it. Always what I do is personalization, pitch, purpose.
Yep.
When you're looking at the personalization aspect of it, what a lot of people do is they cliffhang. And so cliffhang, it's a term I came up with and I basically come off, is they'll comment on it, they'll go to a person's LinkedIn and they'll personalize the message, but they'll just state facts about the person, right? So for example, Tristen, I saw that you went to St. FX and that you were an athlete. Hey, I'd love to chat to you about Greencube, the first thing I've
done that before.
Cliffhang, right? And then you're sitting in the prospect sitting there go, well, you just read my profile.
Right.
Now let me show you what a full personalized outreach is. Hey Tristen, I saw that you were an athlete at St. FX and ultimately you're an athlete at St. FX, you played on the basketball team. That's cool. I went to Dartmouth College, so we have that university commonality, and ultimately I'm sure we could talk about our bus rides and how much 10-hour bus rides suck at university. Hope you're doing well, man. Are you still playing ball? Reaching out, hey, because ultimately I saw that you were the VP of sales or director of sales at a company. We got a sick new AI prospecting platform in Greencube. Would love to jump on a quick 30-minute call to demo you the platform. I know you'll see the value in it. So look at my message, right? And I could have gone into my pitch, which is like, hey, on the cliffhanger saying, oh, hey, my name is Troy Crema, CEO, Greencube, and you saw you were VP of sales, the person goes, okay, wow, he just plugged me into some automated cadence and he's going about his business.
Right.
And I'm not responding to that unless I need it.
Here's how I would respond to those two different examples is that I open that first message that says, hey, Tristan, I saw you played X basketball. I want to tell you about what Greencube can offer. I see that message as just a pitch. I see no personalization in that.
Smart.
The second message, however, even if I don't care about what Greencube has to sell me, I'm still likely to respond.
You're probably going to try to meet, that guy seems a pretty like, cool guy.
And open the door.
Yeah.
And at least respond to be like, wow, like, yeah, you feel my pain on those bus rides.
Right.
Also, if you knew a little bit more about me, you would know the better commonality when you say, I went to Dartmouth College. I went to St. Johnsbury Academy about an hour, no, not even an hour, probably like 20 minutes up the road from you. And because I was at my high school this last weekend, and guess what? We drove through Hanover.
Oh, let's go.
I was like, where's Troy? Where's Troy?
I was at the pong table.
So, but that makes total sense. I like that cliffhanger because it's basically like, why are you telling me something I already know?
Yeah, so I was telling our sales team, right? Because I was looking, it's a discovery process, right? I was looking at their messages, it was cliffhanging, and I went, guys, how about you, when you outreach,
right,
you gotta grab them and bring them back in.
Correct.
When you reach out, you gotta grab and bring back in. The only way you grab is you relate it back to you. When I talk to someone on the other side, saw that, hey man, I saw you worked in New York City, and they go up, I think, yeah, I did this. No, too funny. I actually worked at Loeb NYC. I was a venture consultant there. I'm bringing it back to me. Before just because if you state facts about someone, they get your guard up. But if you bring them in and you're open, then we're having a conversation.
You have to open up a little bit first.
We're dancing,
correct?
Right? I'm not dancing solo. I'm not seeing you across the hall. Ultimately you and I are meeting in the middle, and we're having a beautiful tango.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Like that's like some real. I think that's going to hopefully help a lot of salespeople.
Always, guys, when you outreach and you personalize, it's an amazing tool, but you got to try to relate it back to you. Remember, you got to try to let's build that relationship. So when you reach out, make sure you.
And guess what? This is a great plug for Greencube. Greencube finds those commonalities for you.
Yeah.
It's not like you're just going on LinkedIn Sales Nav. Maybe I have that wrong. What is it? LinkedIn something? Sales Nav.
Good for you.
Fake salesperson over here. It's like you could search. Can you search for commonalities?
So you can keyword on those sites. You can drill into school, but you can't really drill deep into like whether they were an athlete. You can search you can keyword hockey on their profile, but the issue with that
not everyone lists a varsity athlete on their LinkedIn.
So the issue with that is like you go create an audience like that, like a let's say CEO audience of hockey. You'll hit the Ice Hockey Federation CEO. You'll hit like CEOs that work at hockey schools.
Sure.
Right? So, it's based on keywords.
Right? So
that's a big thing, right? Like keywording is what traditional search platforms use. We leverage it, but we have our own database, right? So we've built our own sales database engine in the back end, which is the back end ultimately powering this whole thing.
That's the differentiator. It's not like Greencube is just another lead platform.
It's not a search. It's not a search database. It's a lead delivery platform.
It's EI or it's AI.
Yeah, and that's what we learned over the last year and a half, guys. It was because we were an agency. We used the LinkedIn Sales Navs of the world. We use the Zoom Infos of the world.
That's right.
That's where you say like 60% of those audiences are accurate. Like we tell them like it's good. It's a predominantly good, like great platforms. But again, if you're a young salesperson, Gen Z millennial, when you're starting out. Or if you're doing outreach and if you're doing it remotely at any scale across a massive organization, if 40% of your leads are ultimately not in your applicable target audience and you're running that through automated cadences, you're killing your brand. You're killing ultimately your sales. The person we're getting outreach from, the salesperson that gets discredited, so he gets then blacklisted in an environment. I guess guys, personalization's king. Greencube, the first AI prospecting platform, allows you to do personalized outreach at scale. I'd love to walk you through it. Book a demo with me.
God damn, he's always selling. Okay, last thing before we bring in Will. This is an interesting statistic I came across this morning.
Cool.
It's from Forbes, listed this out. It's B2B sales. It says A generational shift is taking place. Millennials are taking over decision-making positions, which means an increase of virtual selling practices. This new group is more critical about direct contact with sales professionals than baby boomers. Millennials in B2B roles often prefer online buying experiences through a digital-first approach without contacting sellers. They want to do it behind closed doors. They want to do their research online, social media, websites, all of that. According to Gartner's report, The Future of Sales Transformational Strategies for B2B Sales Organizations, more than 44% of millennial B2B buyers prefer closing a deal without interacting with sales professionals. Nuts. At most, 17% of the total buying process occurs in direct contact with sales, according to Gartner's research in five ways the future of B2B buying will rewrite the rules of effective selling. Want to finish this point. Organizations should consider rearranging their sales department to support virtual buying processes. This way, you meet the representative free preferences of the new generation of decision makers. That's nuts. And we were joking.
You meet the representative free preferences of the next new generation. Representative free.
Sales
so that's
representative
fascinating,
free.
right?
Yep.
This just goes back. Shout out to Breezy Beaumont, by the way, on our Act 35.
You can listen to it up here. Click this. Click this.
Click.
Okay.
Breezy's a thought leader in product-led growth. This is product-led growth. So when you go back, you said 17% of the total, 44% of millennial people prefer closing a deal without interacting with professionals. So that's interesting because the definition of a closed deal is, I guess it could be a sign-up. I want to unpack that a bit, what they mean by that, because I do think certain types of ACVs, right? It all depends. If you're looking at even a 10K plus ACV investment, or even maybe even a 8K plus, you need to talk to a sales representative. That you need to. Like, I have not come across a software that ultimately is 8K plus ACV that ultimately hasn't had some sort of salesperson contact. It can be a 20-minute phone call,
sure,
but you gotta have some sort of contact.
Of course.
Right? I would love to. I mean, we should. If we can ever get someone from Gartner on here, I'd love to learn more about that, because is a closed deal by definition a sign up? Because if that is, then that makes a lot of sense to me, because if they're signing up to a platform, they are on it, they're using it. It is somewhat closed, but the sales representative talking about Breezy last time on PLG strategies, that's the PLG strategies are super impactful, because if a closed deal, according to Gartner, is a sign up, then ultimately it's a closed deal, but really what are you doing, right? You're upselling. You're upselling to this package, you're upselling to this feature, and it's all through the platform itself, through product-led growth. And you know what? You probably eventually, where we're going to go with this, and even the Greencube platform, it'll get there really soon. You're going to have PLG upsell strategies that you're going to have no interaction with me or our sales team, right? But when you start to approach, again, those ACV type of contracts that are 5-figure plus, I would say, to 6 figures, or sometimes even 7, I haven't seen a platform where you're not talking to a salesperson.
I agree, and I think this has to be like, there's got to be, the website has to be so fruitful of information and applicable knowledge of what this product or service is going to do for the person, that they're like, yeah, I'm sold.
You know, this could be like Monday.com, right? Like, or you're thinking Monday.com or Asana or Slack or all these different platforms, right? Like, that makes sense, because like it's so intuitive to use all those platforms.
That's right.
That I'm just adding users from my org because I got referred to the website. I'm not talking to a Slack representative. That makes a lot of sense to me.
Which you personally, not Troy the salesperson, is that more enjoyable than having to hop on a call? And like, if you can just be in bed and buy a product that's going to help you, wouldn't you rather do that 9 times out of 10 than having to go and like, hey, can I schedule a call because I want to buy your product?
Yeah, because you just want to download, you want to use it.
It's more efficient.
So let's talk about, when we talk about millennials and Gen Zers, have the attention span of like,
that's right,
3 seconds, right?
And people could argue, I'm not arguing this, but I've heard the argument before that Gen Z and millennials are getting less, so they're more socially awkward or socially disconnected because of social media and technology. People are trying to say that because kids are on their phones all the time, that they're disconnecting from real conversation. So if that's true, then they would prefer to just deal with a website and enter their information and download from that instead of hopping on a
it
call.
totally makes sense to me. I think for enterprise sales organizations that build products that are pure PLG strategies, like the Slacks, like the Salesforce, even Salesforce need to be able to go. But HubSpot's a good example because HubSpot, you can download it right away, free, and then upsell on the web, on the CRM itself. That makes a lot of sense to me. That it would be was it 44% of millennial buyers prefer closing a deal, but I would still say mid-market or products that don't have substantial PLG strategies or brand recognition and traction with a certain, like Slack is the enterprise version to communicate with your team.
That's right.
They have that locked, like they lock that up. HubSpot and Salesforce are the CRMs, brand names. When you go to do a CRM, you're going to probably HubSpot or Salesforce. Probably HubSpot first if you're a low end startup. If you have any type of traction in sales, you're going to Salesforce or Oracle, NetSuite, right? They've established that brand, so I agree with that. It's probably for branded companies. That's 44% of buyer preferences. Companies that are like Greencube, which are starting out, but we will get to there. You need to have a sales representative talk to you. I really want to talk to you guys.
So book the call. Okay.
So book that down.
Okay, Troy, that was fire. I'm really excited for everyone to listen to this interview with Will Peters. Will and Troy actually went to school together in Dartmouth, but it was a really eye-opening conversation for me because Will is an enterprise account executive at Arthur, which is a company that provides performance monitoring, algorithmic bias detection, and explainability. So data science is like technology. But it was really interesting after sitting here week after week after week, trying to understand what sales is, what goes into sales, how to be a good salesperson, to finally speak to an account executive and be like, Will, what do you do? So hope you enjoy that. Troy and I are signing off for another act of Stay Hot.
Stay hot.
And
that was like 37.
37.
Wow.
37. So
we're getting up there, right?
We'll see you next week.
37.
Peace.
Clip it, yeah.
Let's kick this thing off. Will, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day. We're going to dive into all things sales, AI, tech, whatever your background in the military and stuff. But welcome to the show. We're excited to have you. I understand that you and Troy have a prior relationship through a little place called Dartmouth College. So that'll be a
small college, but there are those who love it.
That's right. So what's going on? Welcome to the show. Give us a little intro, who you are and why you're here.
Yeah, sure thing. So I did serve in the military, in the Army, in the 10th Mountain Division for a little over 3 years, from 2005 to 2008. And marked that year, 2008, I got out of active duty and braved the recession. I actually went to community college in Boston. There I'd ended up meeting the former president of Dartmouth, Dr. James Wright. He's actually responsible for helping draft the legislation called the GI Bill, the post 9/11 GI Bill that helps veterans like me pay for college. So fast forward to fall 2012, I'm shipped up from Boston to Hanover, New Hampshire.
Right.
And then call it a year later, somehow I ended up in a fraternity at age 27. And I met this knucklehead shortly thereafter. There was a big, I know you guys are a couple Canucks, so it was a big hockey house. And that was part of the appeal. Although they're not the most charming individuals. But they were a bunch of good dudes. Troy was among them. He was a scrappy hockey player. Not really the best, but he pulled his own weight and whatnot.
Look at his stats, buddy.
He could certainly skate better than I can.
First team all Ivy. Come on.
Okay. Well, good thing there isn't an Ivy League conference. You know, it's the ECAC. I'd like to thank Penn and Columbia from abstaining from having hockey teams.
That's good. That's good.
Told you love Billy.
Yeah, no, this is awesome. And so I know from the intro you said that you work at Arthur AI, but give us a quick rundown. And first, I want to say that Stay Hot has been an opportunity for us to document Troy's journey in building Greencube, which is fundamentally built off of AI technology and helping to solve sales prospecting for salespeople. So give us a little rundown on how Arthur uses AI and what you guys are doing over there.
Well, yeah. So I think it's important to take a step back and kind of look at the market and why we are here. It's not so much about how Arthur leverages AI, although there is a bit of that. I'm not the person to really discuss that, mostly because I'm a bit of a layman with it. But why Arthur exists is actually a very practical matter. I could kind of tell you the story that we typically give in our usual intro calls. Arthur was founded back in 2018 by Adam Wenchel, our CEO. He had established the Center for Machine Learning at Capital One. It was the first kind of organized center of excellence at the bank. And there he really got heavily focused on AI explainability and algorithmic bias and fairness. So he ended up moving on and brought some of his colleagues with him to found Arthur. And really, we wanted to actually bring to market AI performance management and bias detection and mitigation. Now, those all sound like really cute buzzwords, but the truth is the AI usage in business is still a very fledgling market. It's relatively new. Just 5 or 6 years ago, people were just bringing tabular models into production and seeing what happens. Never mind natural language processing and computer vision coming in. And then it blew up exponentially. You have, particularly in the insurance world, in the auto claims world, everybody has a computer vision application where, every time Troy gets in a car accident, he can just snap a photo and have his claim processed. Right. That's all fine and well for the intent of it is simple, but when it goes into production and the real world, particularly the data environment happens to it, that's when it goes haywire. There's so much unintended model decisioning when unfamiliar data is introduced. And just the simple way that algorithms are actually designed and data is curated, it very much can introduce and has introduced unintended biases. So that's kind of where Arthur kind of introduces themselves as a solution across, the AI space.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. And I guess I'm I'm going to be that guy that's asking questions as if I know nothing, because quite frankly, I don't. So what is the product or service that Arthur sells? Because from that explanation, I understand that, hey, there's these problems, or the market understands these problems of AI. So what do you sell?
Yeah, so it's essentially like the straightforward, tagline is it's an AI performance management platform.
Okay.
So it's a single pane of glass where developers, engineers, data scientists, product managers, executives, anybody who's involved in AI, signed off on AI as a stakeholder, can say, what's going on with my models? Where they can be proactive, to identify and address model decisioning issues before they impact your customers, before they harm your business.
Okay. Got it. And I'm curious to know how you sell that in a world that's just warming up to AI and tech, because I've been learning through this process and journey with Troy that as he develops his skills as a salesperson, which the guy loves to sell, I'm learning what a sales process is, how important it is. Troy, go ahead.
And I wanna ask Billy something. So I think Will, want to ask Will something. Will, again, I think I've become just dealing with multiple different sales organizations, different companies, mid-market, now enterprise. What is the definition of an account executive at Arthur? What do you do, Will? And what do you do? Like, are you is it more of an account manager role? Are you closing deals? Like, what does that look like for you on a day-to-day?
I mean, I think it's not to get a little cheesy. It's the account executive role at Arthur AI is very much the heart and soul of outbound sales. We're a Series A. We're trying to get our Series B. We are not at a stage. Well, we're just in the process of starting to recruit and look at hiring our first SDR, BDR.
There you go.
But one of the questions I'd read, in preparation for this is, how much outbound do you do? I do all of it. And that, I was a business development representative before at my previous company, and I learned a whole lot from that. But I'm still a very young salesperson, and I will be for several years. This is something, it's like wine or whiskey. You gotta age for a bit. You've got to get exposed to the right elements if you want to be, fine at your craft, if you will. And, I think I wouldn't have it any other way. And sometimes I want to bang my head off the wall and tear my hair out because this is hard. I want to just have the conversations. I want to move to the deep dive, to the POV, to the value exercises. But you can't do that unless you're getting people's attention. So, what we've done as a team over the past year is really identify what is the best use of our time, what kind of folks are the appropriate people to reach out to. For us, that has predominantly been in the financial services, banking, insurance, and healthcare spaces. And really refining that message and having a very high quality approach, which was an interesting transition for me because I came from a high volume activity kind of organization when I got into tech sales back in 2018 to, saying like, you got to send 70 to 150 messages, outbound messages a day, to saying 10 quality, value-driven, personalized messages to the right people. And that's actually harder. And you learn a whole lot more from that.
Sure. And hey, Troy, 10's a great number because
I think I got a tool for you, Billy. Sorry.
10's a great number, but that
I'm not gonna sell them on the 10. But I want to kind of touch on a point that Will talked about. It's like sales is hard. I think that's something that is what I hate. I know Will probably hears this all the time. Is that sales is like kind of still looked at, I would say, in organizations as like maybe the cushy side of an organization, or maybe not the most intellectual group. But ultimately, I beg to differ. I think ultimately sales has become so hard in today's era, especially, where you need to have such a profound knowledge of not just your company, but your market, where you sit, and really be able to, as Will said, capture the attention of someone on the other side and really to get them in your pipeline. And so when Will was talking about, like he was talking about at the beginning, like the history of AI and selling AI business, like he had to go through the pains of learning that and ultimately be able to gather the attention of the person on the other side. So I totally resonate with that as well. So like, Will, I want to kind of talk to you as well, kind of on this. So you're doing 10 outreaches a day, or is that 10 outreaches a week on that front?
It's per day,
Per day.
It's give or take, you end up down a research rabbit hole, 3 hours go by. That's why time management is incredibly important.
So what goes, so exactly before you even outreach, right? You're qualifying that person on the other side through the 3 hour rabbit hole. And so what goes into that process? So is Arthur's like you said, it's probably a pretty specific product to a specific type of audience. If you're doing that rabbit hole, what's your process when you go for research and then go to outreach?
It's important to understand and remember, and I had to learn this as a good habit, that the ICP starts at the company level, at the enterprise level. So, the ICP of Arthur is ABC Bank. Okay. So then I need to find out, through quarterly earnings, through various news outlets, through market research publications and podcasts like Emerge, things like that. What's going on? What's the trends in the market overall for AI in banking or AI in healthcare? What's going on with the specific, bank or healthcare organization in my patch? What do they have going on? What vendors are they working with? What initiatives are they trying to focus on? Then I can get into the who. A common trend that you don't always get this nugget, but if you read that transcript and they say something about technology overhaul to better service customers, predictive care analytics to reduce ER visits or something like that, you will find somebody who has a title and a background and a LinkedIn that really strikes you as somebody who cares about that, and then you address them by saying, hey, Troy, I understand that you've been working on predictive care analytics to, be better. And the CEO said that they want to improve that by X-fold over the next 6 months. My company can help folks accelerate their time to market with their models. That's something that would be of interest to you. How about a virtual cup of coffee next week?
Right. And so like that just goes to show you also like the tier. So when Will busts my chops basically on you're a mid-market seller versus enterprise seller, like look at that kind of process that Will went through on just kind of basically being able to research like extensively, learn current market trends, where that basically that potential enterprise fits, just to even have a sliver of opportunity to open that initial conversation or that initial coffee. And then Will, what would you say? Like you said, you spend you send 10 outreach messages a week to specific enterprise. Are they at the same company? Are they at multiple different companies? Like, are you like, talk to me about your targeting strategies on outreach?
It's per day, the 10 messages. And that's just like a loose-ish target. And let me just say, like, understanding a sales process or a methodology is easy. Executing it well is extremely hard. The first thing I have to do, and I was coached on this, like you have to block out the time on your calendar, and then you actually have to commit to what those time blocks are. So make them what they are. So, I'll do pipeline generation, market research. I'll do pipeline generation, account research, and I'll pick 2 accounts, and then there's a goal I set with that. Like out of that 1 hour block, I need to find no less than 2 nuggets of information and 3 prospects per account who care about that. That's that, and then you start with that. And I think the idea is that you build up a muscle around that, and you can get a lot better at that. It creates a rolling effect. You set out your cadence or your sequence motions that you're talking to multiple accounts at once. There's overlap. When one prospect is on like step 3 or 4, you're starting another one at another account, that sort of thing. So that's really kind of, you can imagine, like if you're not organized and committed about that, that can get messy very quickly.
That's so true. And I think that kind of talks to Tristen when we were talking about like 2 episodes ago, right? With the sales process and how you have to develop, as much as sales is an art, it's also a scientific process on that front. And the process varies for every single company. And so like you can't have a set process that works for X type of business because, as Will was saying, ultimately your targets change and ultimately you have a different product as well.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, you're selling to people. You're not selling to robots, or you're not selling to forms online that are going to be the same for everything. You have to adapt and be adaptable to whoever you're talking to on the other side.
Well, that's the thing, is like when you go through these processes and you really commit to doing them well. And again, I'm still learning all this. You know, I'm not a master of this, and I'm very lucky to
That's
have.
not what you told me, Will.
You know, I know, but you know, if my leadership sees this,
That's right. Yeah.
no, but the truth is, I do have an excellent opportunity to learn how to do this in a way, instead of just having people yell at me and say, make a sale happen, increase the pipeline. No, instead, what you see is when you do a really well-researched value pyramid and you present it to the customer, or really well-executed customized demo that demonstrates what they care about and the pain they're trying to solve for, the way they react is very rewarding. When you get deeper into an opportunity and you produce a 3 whys, the why do anything, the why now, and the kind of why this solution, Arthur. When you do that, you have them really validate what you found, what they care about, what hurts them, and even expand on what you might not know, because it excites them, because the prospect gets to talk about themselves and what they're working on. And therefore, when you do that the right way, the prospect should be feeding you, and they don't always, but when you do that, you sit back and you say, oh wow, that really worked. And you can do that a lot only if you start off slow and respect every step along the way.
Yeah,
it's easy to get impatient,
and that's contradictory to the traditional salesperson, that if someone who's not in sales, not in business, has nothing to do in this world were to hear that, or you'd be like, what's a salesperson? They're like, salesperson, you need to be proactive and you need to tell why someone needs your product. But what you just said there, it's like, no, it's allow them to come to you.
I think you got to give them a little bit of space, right? So it's a combination of both. I think you're getting it to the point where you have to capture their attention, right? And get them intrigued. But then ultimately, it's like, as Mo was saying, you got to you could go 70 or 60, but they got to come back a little bit to 30 or 40 to be able to.
I mean, you do something like a value pyramid. I've spent all this time.
I want to know what a value pyramid is. Can you explain that? I've never heard of that.
A value pyramid is essentially, it doesn't even have to look like a pyramid, but it essentially encapsulates the company's goals, and the ones specifically that are relevant to the people that you're talking about. And you do all that research, and you've hopefully done a discovery call beforehand that adds to that. And there's a tendency to want to read it all, but it's in front of them, whether it's in Zoom or in person, it's in front of them. They can see it. Now, you've done all this research, you're proud of it, you're tempted to read it all off. But and I've done that. Just to be clear, I'm guilty of that.
When I was
the
starting,
smarter practices is saying, hey, based on my conversations and some of my research that I've done, I've distilled this.
Right.
Could you take a moment to see if I've, accurately captured this, what I got right or wrong, or if I've missed anything that's important to you?
nice.
Now you've been able to test them to check if they're actually paying attention, if they actually have real pain, and get a sense of, is this person a champion? Are they a coach? They have access to people that can make decisions or move the needle. So these are the little things that you learn.
Can you send me your value pyramid after this call? I want to take a look at it. We'll post it up there. Ching.
Why not?
It's great. I love it.
Yeah, no, and that's a valuable, and Troy knows this. Every time I listen to someone talk, I'm like, wow, that's a clip. That's a that can bring value to someone.
The 3 whys.
The 3, it's bringing a lesson in sales that I'm sure a bunch of people know, but it's from a different perspective. And sometimes it takes a different perspective for it to click and for them to implement it in their lives as well.
And I think it's funny, right? Will bust my chops that, hey, enterprise is the big leagues. And I'm going to be honest, we're starting to go into enterprise now, which is exciting. But so it's an uncharted territory for us.
Yeah.
And so hearing that from Will and just the 3 whys, the value creation pyramid as well, those are tools that like I love to hear. So I'm always trying to learn from ultimately great salespeople as well, and that's really why we're here.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think about an ICP centric sales tool like Greencube, and you are where you're at right there, but you can always make this thing easier. You can always provide pretty templates to export and kind of accommodate these sorts of things. And especially if somebody who's learning these things says, oh, well, how do I put that together? Having a starting point, having somebody's good example. And that's the thing. You have to learn from other people.
Right.
And there's no one right way to do this. I've seen highly analytical Stanford grads who were consultants just say, I need something different, and they become a salesperson, and they bring that approach to sales. But then I see people like Troy who run the Wild West and get all excited about everything. They leverage their personalities, and people lean in and want to talk to them.
That's right.
One's not better than the other. You just have to leverage your personality, the skill sets that you have, and probably most importantly, your ability to learn new things. And you bring that to to your outreach, to your.
I use the personality to open the door, Will, but I could take it down. I get analytical if we gotta get analytical. I'm not just attorney brother there. Come on, man.
That's right. No, Will, I think this was super valuable. And like I said, I'm not in this world, but I'm kind of an outside looking in kind of guy, and it's fascinating. But the way that you articulate yourself and that you're still open to learning new things and improving your craft, and sales is a long journey. I don't think there's even the best salespeople out there will even admit that it's not a one size fits all. So it was great to hear you share.
Absolutely. I appreciate it.
Awesome.